I was adjusting my phone here. So what entrances will not be available when we come in next week?
The side entrance where our office is, the one that's right there, below that you can see right below our windows, that one's closed. There's a sign on the door. We can still get in if we have a key, but we have to lock it. So that one, the one that you come in, Tom, in the back, that one's open near the police department.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, again, I think they wanted to do this even before the protocols were in place, and they're just following through with it.
So on the street side, the front entrance, that's open, or just out of curiosity?
Yes, that is open.
And the side entrance just near the building inspector's office, is that will be closed, or?
I believe that's closed. Yeah,
Okay.
I can double check. I'll double check.
No, it's all right. I just out of curiosity.
Yeah, Tammy said it is closed.
Okay.
Yep.
So Michael, just going back, you mentioned that our next meeting is going to be on the 21st.
Yep.
I will be on vacation and not be available.
Do you want to reschedule it for the end of the month?
It's up to the board. We can either reschedule. I can do the 4th. Well, yeah, I can do the 28th, or I can not be in attendance.
Actually, to tell you the truth, the end of the month would work better for me, because
let's do the 28th then.
Okay, because with me being on vacation next week, I'd have to do the agenda from my house, and I'm planning like day trips every day. So actually, that would be great if we could do it on the 28th.
Okay, that sounds
All
good.
right.
I'm moving.
Awesome. And so now that we've had the elections in the town, just as a reminder, the town meeting is this coming Saturday. And because the protocols have changed, if it does rain, they will move it out from outside into the gym. So that's I think that just got changed on the town's website because I think they were going to, I don't know if there was a rain date set for that, but with the way our weather's been going, who knows what's going to happen. But as it stands, June 12th is the town meeting, and it's still scheduled as such. So I put down, typically after the town elections, I have to go online and like with Gary, I had to put in his new date for, when he'll be running again. So that's done. But you guys also have to reconstitute and vote for chairman. And so that's the first thing on the agenda. I didn't know if you wanted to do it now or wait until we're in person.
We can do it now.
Okay.
I make a motion that we have Gary Pitney be the chairman of the select board, or the board of assessors.
I second the motion.
Thank you.
So then we have vote. So all in favor, I guess.
Aye.
Okay. Duly noted. Okay, so number 2, there is quite a few motor vehicle abatements and certificates that you guys got to review and sign. Number 3, there's a motor vehicle uncollectible, and number 4, personal property uncollectible that you can review when you come in as well. There's also a warrant that has to be signed this week because the bills, I believe they're dated for Friday, the 11th. So that's all set and ready to go. I have the new lien, which we discussed a few meetings ago for High Lawn Farm.
Mike, before we get to that, just on the signatures, are they ready now, or should we wait till tomorrow or Wednesday?
No, they're ready now. Yep.
Okay.
They're ready now. And actually, number 6 is for Gary to sign because it has to be notarized and the chairman has to sign it. So I have that ready to go. That's for the new lien for High Lawn Farm, where I noticed they had left out, or we hadn't recorded the one lot that was listed on their last renewal. I have the check. They did send me the recording fee, so it's sitting here. So Gary, when you come in, and sign it. Can you also go see Terry, because you have to sign her book?
Yeah, and now is she there today?
Is Terry here today? Yes, today and tomorrow.
All right, well,
Yep.
I'll come up, I'll come up at 10:30.
Okay, all right.
So just to be clear, we just can walk right in the office then. We don't have to call.
Nope, you can come right up. We're
Okay,
fully open to the public now.
great. I just, yeah, good.
Okay.
Finally.
Numbers, I know, it's been a long time. But again, it doesn't feel any different. I thought it was really gonna be a madhouse, but I think people got so used to calling. We're still getting, I think we get more requests for email to actually send things out than we ever did, and people seem to be sticking to that. Because again, I mean, it's up to whatever they want to do. They want to wear a mask when they come in, that's up to them. If they ask us to wear a mask, I don't want to be fighting with the public, so we will oblige them and wear a mask if it makes them feel more comfortable, because not everybody feels that it's full steam right now. I do personally, but I'm not going to infringe that on anybody at this point. But I will say I'm happy that we're getting back to normal at this point. The map changes are updated online and on my side too. That's already done. Number 8 is something that it's a little bit weird. It's we got a IGR from the DOR about owner unknown properties in town. And we do have a list of owner unknown properties. We actually keep it in an Excel spreadsheet. It was given to us by the mapping company back in 2006 when we did our maps over. And what they presented to me was, they said, okay, Mike, here's your list of owner unknowns. Here's the acreage. You can either decide to not put them on the commitment or just have it available in case someone walks through the door and wants to know about this particular property. And we have had it happen. And we've had one person come in and actually be able to prove that they own this one particular piece of property. And they're all tiny, tiny little pieces of property, or they're like a paper street here and there that exist on the maps, but nowhere else. I have the acreage. Well, there's a new ruling from the DOR that says if we choose to, we can put a value on those properties. Now, typically, and I wasn't aware of this, but you had to request permission from the DOR to actually value those properties and put them on the tax rolls, which to me never made any sense, because we still don't have legal ownership or title or an actual good title to send a tax bill to someone that's listed as an owner unknown. So what happens during tax billing time is you have to pull all of those, the tax collector would have to pull all those lots. And if they have a value, because now the state is saying you can give them a value without getting permission from the DOR, we can do it ourselves, as long as we feel that we've researched these owner unknowns and feel comfortable doing it, then we could put it on the commitment. The only thing is, Erica or myself, we would have to pull those bills, and not, I mean, there's nowhere to send them to. You have to basically account for all those values and the tax amount that they're going to generate, which should not be much because there's such small little pieces of property. And so what I thought I would do, I just got this last week, is maybe get a legal opinion from Miares Ray and see what they think about it, if we should put those properties on the tax rolls for the first time now that we can, and just do what we have to do. Maybe someone along, would try to buy those, but you have to have some type of title. You've got to be able to research these things, and maybe it's a project that later on down the road, the town will want to take on the owner unknowns and try to figure out who actually does own them. But our mapping company did their due diligence and they tried to find, who owns these properties. They don't have anything to prove it, so they leave it with us. So I thought, get an opinion, a legal opinion, and if they say we should technically be putting those on the tax rolls, we probably should be.
So the person who proved that he or she owned that property, do they owe back taxes?
No, because we never had it on the tax rolls. So they can't request a municipal lien certificate. And we had it under an owner unknown without any, even if it wasn't on the commitment, the mapping company still determined that they didn't have enough information. And again, a lot of these things could be, if they have documentation that they actually were using this and could get it by adverse possession or another way. This happened to be I won't mention who it was, but it was someone in Beechwood who owned an adjacent property who was using this parcel, and they thought they were being billed in their regular house bill with their land all along, and they weren't. These lots were separated, so they should have been one lot to begin with. I don't think the rest of the owner unknowns are that easy. I mean, some of them are, for example, we up in Mackinac Heights, there's the Osceola Drive that is a paper street that's listed as an owner unknown, and there's no legal description for it that we've ever had. It's always been on our maps. You can actually see it on the digital side on the Access GIS, and it has a map and lot number. That's the good thing is the mapping company, CAI, did assign a map number to all of these lots. So we do have those map numbers on file if someone does come in and they want to research it. But what I tell them is, look, it's an owner unknown, but if you have something, maybe that wasn't reported or something that the mapping company just couldn't find, please bring it forward. I will send it to them. They will do whatever they have to do, and they'll come back to us and say, look, we've done everything we can, and it looks like this should be listed. And again, these have been in existence probably even before the mapping company got involved. We just never listed them way back in the day. I know when I was in North Adams and we were doing assessing there, we had a ton of owner unknowns, and we would list them in the commitment book. I don't believe we ever got permission up there from the DOR to do such, but we did anyway. And again, they never went out. They were just such low values. But again, I wanted to make sure that our tax collector was aware of this, because something like that could throw off her collection rate, because you're now pulling, half a dozen bills that no longer, that shouldn't be sent out. Even if you did put them in the mail, they're going to come back. We need to keep them on file. No one's ever going to pay them. And then all of a sudden you have these uncollectibles that are just sitting there. So I think we saved a lot of problems by not listing them on the tax rolls, but I want to make sure legally that, is that something we should be doing? So I thought I'll send an email off to Ray and see if he can research this a little bit more. The IGR from the DOR, I can print it out and leave it in here if you want to look at it. It's very vague. It's only a couple sheets. But I do remember a few years when I was at UMass, one of the courses, the question came up about owner unknown properties, and the instructor at the time did say that it was something you had to get permission if you wanted to list those as an owner unknown from the Department of Revenue. And since we haven't, this may be a way of going forward, now that we no longer have to ask permission, to just put them on the tax rolls and see what happens. But if we don't have to do that, I'd rather continue going forward and just keep them on paper and actually have a map and lot assigned to them. But again, legally, that may not be the thing to do, and I want to make sure that we're doing it right. So I thought maybe this week I'll contact Ray. Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I think, and also, Mike, ask him if we could put it advertise it on our website.
Okay. Because I know,
And yeah, also, go ahead, Mike, and
North Adams just did an auction for like 48 properties that were all these little pieces that they had all over the city. And of course, I was curious because one of them was on the street that I live. And they did it all at one time. But again, I'm not sure if those were technically initially listed as owner unknowns in the city of North Adams did taking. I don't even know how you would do a taking on a property that doesn't have a legal title, because if you do any type of like land of low value through the DOR, Ray Miaras actually has to be involved in those. They have to have a good book and page number. They've got to have a transfer date. They've got to have a good legal description. Even the lien that you'll be signing, Gary, I can't send that in for a chapter land. If there's anything wrong with that lien up at the registry, if the book and page is off, they won't even take it if there's not a legal book and page listed. None of these owner unknowns have a book and page that I can even list in the system. So I would, and again, when I put them in the system, our valuation system at this time, I can't even go forward without having a book and page. It's a fail safe. When I put in a new owner, they always look for a book and page and transfer date. I can make up something and then just put a note next to it that that's for an owner unknown, just for something that's not sent out, like 0000. I'm allowed to put that in and just put a note, saying we don't have a actual legal description, but we have to still be able to assess it. It's a weird little thing, and I'm sure other communities have dealt with this too. But again, none of these areas are acres and acres and acres. They're just tiny little pieces that were the end result of the mapping company accounting for all the acreage within each map. And they would, here we go, here's a lot, that we just cannot figure out. And, they gave us the option way back when. And I have it in I have a folder, I call it the green bar report, because they gave me this big report printed on green bar paper and had every single property listed, as well as the owner unknowns. And there's probably, I'd say maybe a dozen. There's not a whole bunch of them, but again, going forward, you never know. There could be, if the public was maybe aware of these, they may have something. It might be a neighbor. It might be a property next door that they might be interested in, but it would be the burden of proof at that point is not on the town. It's on the potential taxpayer to come forward with documentation that we're not aware of. And again, I'm always leery about paperwork that comes through that hasn't been recorded at the registry, because we would never change anything in our records unless we have something that was, maybe the intent was to record it at the registry, but they never did it. And my next thing to the taxpayer would be, we'll get that recorded, and as soon as it is, we'll get a copy of it, send it to the mapping company and let them thoroughly look at it, and see where we go from there. But again, I was a little surprised when that IGR came through. Happy actually, because they're finally putting it in the hands of the towns to handle these and go forward with them. So I can do that. I'll contact Ray, and I have a feeling we won't be the only community looking for legal help on these and go forward with it. And I have enough time between now and when we do the taxes in the fall to get these back on, or get these in the commitment back on the tax rolls, even though we won't be getting taxes on them, and we'll go forward. So I just want to make you guys aware that came through, and I'm looking into it.
So
Okay.
Mike, just a couple of questions here. First, what does ATR stand for? ATI?
ATI, what's
You
that
said-
on?
No, what was the term you said you received? And
Oh, IGR. That's a
ITR.
informational guide release. Those
Yeah.
come
Oh.
from, yeah, that's Tom, that's a, we get
It's
two things.
IGR then.
IGR, yeah, it's,
Okay,
we get those sent to us by the DOR whenever there's, an update of any, or a bulletin. We
Okay.
always print them out, and when you come in the office, the bookshelf, there's binders for every year. And if you
right,
ever want to
right.
go through them, they're all in there.
Okay, just thank
Yep.
you, just
You're
for
welcome.
clarifying that. Just the other question I have is, I'm wondering if it might make sense to write abutting property owners a note saying, we're trying to clear up some records here. This property is listed as owner unknown.
Oh, that's a
Do
great
you-
idea.
Do you have any information on this, or to help us along with this
Right, I
process?
didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. We could do that. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
maybe even in a butters list? Like just the surrounding, like typically the surrounding properties, they might, because the one that was in Beechwood that came forward, they were across the street from where this
Okay.
parcel was, but
Yeah,
they literally, what happened with that one is they looked at their acreage on their tax bill, and they didn't seem to think it was right. So I sent them the paperwork to question it because we don't deal directly with those questions anymore. There's a form that the owner would fill out, and we send it to, actually they send it with proof to the mapping company, and then the mapping company gets back to us. And that was just a matter of, they're looking at their acreage, something doesn't seem right. And they thought for some reason that the parcel that they were using across the way was, we don't do that. We won't tax, or shouldn't be taxing a parcel that's across the street with another parcel. But they thought for some reason it was included in there. And I said, look, if you've got something, please submit it. We encourage that, but there's probably no way that they would know that these things exist unless they get a letter in the mail.
oh, I think your suggestion of using the abutters and using the same guidelines we use with special permits, when, people want to comment on that.
Okay, yeah.
The other quick thing is, it might be useful to know which of these properties are listed in land court, because if it's a land court property, then there is no adverse possession.
Right. See, that's the hard part about these, is I don't even have a reference, like a land court reference at all. I have no references other than a map and lot number that was assigned to it by the mapping company. So there isn't even a record card listed for any of these, because they found them in 2006. So all the old maps that we had going up to it, there was no owner unknowns listed. So this just started. I mean, some of these can go back for other communities like hundreds of years. We literally just started finding these when we redid our maps. So
Okay.
we never had a listing for owner unknown prior to, well, they started doing our maps in 2004, but they were finished in 2006. So going from 2006 to today, we still have that list, but we never had that list before. And again,
Right.
I haven't been provided anything. Again, I know some communities hire out, and they have, they'll hire a team, or use their legal counsel to research these. And that's something that we can discuss further down the road, because obviously it's going to be something that will cost an additional fee for someone to do going forward. But what I can do is I will keep that list out so you guys can see it, and you can see where these are. But it is nothing that is going to create a buildable lot, but it's something still that could interest maybe an abutter that
Sure.
could come forward, and we could get some of these back on the tax roll if they can prove, again, not to me, but to the mapping company, that this is legitimate. And there's always gonna be a waiting time too. I mean, if they have a deed that wasn't recorded or a plan that wasn't recorded, if they were to record it right now and prove ownership, I wouldn't be able to put them on the tax rolls until next year because it's after the January 1 assessment date. But we could still note our records and change our records, going forward. So I think that idea is great to notify them, and at least that would prove to legal counsel, and that would prove to the DOR and the mapping company, that we did everything we could to try to figure out who owned these, and then we could feel comfortable putting it on the commitment as a true owner unknown. So I would say
Exactly.
that would be the first step, would be to get Ray's opinion, and at the same time work up on a butters list to send out, and that way we would have something prepared for the fall, even if we can't get these listed on this fiscal 22 commitment.
Sure. Just one
Mike.
other added item. Even though none of these properties are buildable, is it a possibility that it could make a turn by adjoining that property to an abutter? Might that make an unbuildable lot buildable?
It could, and there, and
It
actually,
would be good to have that information. I
right, and
think.
actually, it's funny how this came about, because I had actually received a phone call from a taxpayer up on Mackinac Heights, and their group up there wanted to know if they could create a trail along what we have as Osceola, which is a paper street. And I said, I don't know, let me look into it. Of course, I look into it, and isn't that listed as an owner unknown on our report? So this very nice taxpayer wanted to know if I could just do a little bit of research. And I went back as far as I could. It's been assigned a number, but it's an owner unknown. So I couldn't go back to the taxpayer and say, I actually didn't have an owner. I didn't know what to tell this particular person, because we have it listed as an owner unknown, but they were very interested in it as a group. I don't know if Mackinac Heights has their own association, but they were interested in maybe them getting together and getting a right of way over this or using it. And it's an owner unknown, so there's no legal description to it. The town doesn't own it. So all I could do is send them a copy of an old plan. I actually found 2 old plans, and I made a copy of it last week, and I'm going to email it to them. But that's not going to resolve anything, because we don't have legal description and the town doesn't own it at this point. Maybe the town does, but I have no way of knowing. So, this is definitely something that is definitely could be of interest to the public when something like this comes up. And again, what he was talking about sounded great, a walking path or a trail. Who wouldn't love that up there? So, but again, I just felt like I wish there was more I could have done, but at this point, it being listed, all I can say is thank God it's the mapping company assigned a number to it, because that makes it a lot easier going forward to put it back on the commitment and see what the town wants to do with these. I could be way off on, maybe there is a process where the town could acquire these, but I don't know of that yet, and that's why I need to talk to Ray about this.
So Michael, just to,
Yeah.
So if they're identified with a lot number, they're still unknown, correct?
Yes, yeah, the
Right.
mapping company did that, so if let's say an abutting property did a subdivision, they want to make sure they're not using that number, so because they tell me all the numbers now. If a subdivision happens, what I used to do is I used to create the numbers, and we would John Miller and myself, we would actually do these on the old Mylar maps, and we would create the lots ourselves. Now, when we send something off to them, they'll send me back the map change with a list that says, okay, Mike, go ahead and reassign the numbers. Let's say if it was map 209 lot 29, they'll come back and say, okay, it's now 29 1 2 and 3 if there was a subdivision. And that's great because that takes the pressure off of us. So by assigning a number and having it on our records, they're not going to come back and use I wouldn't come back and use a number that's already in existence. So that step was something that we wanted them to do when we redid our maps, is account for every piece of property that is within the acreage of this particular map. And I don't think the owner unknowns are what was left. I just think, when they were digitizing and trying to account for all the parcels, there just were these pieces that showed up where they legally couldn't. And again, they're not lawyers there, but they are engineers, and they know how to read surveys and deeds a lot better than I do. And I feel a lot more comfortable that they're doing it. But again, they've exhausted, I think, everything they can on these lots. So they just are like, they hate the fact that they can't prove it. So they throw it back at us, like, here you go, account for it. But right now it's the taxing part of it that I'm not sure of going forward. And I really need to be sure of this.
So Michael, just to say, like, there is a lot 18.2 that basically that was owned by the Biacos, then it was sold to Laurel, to the land trust, and then Construct got involved. And during this whole transition, it never just got conveyed. And everybody knows the story about it, but it's still hard to get clear.
Oh, is that lot that's still, we're still waiting?
Behind Pine. So, I mean, I think identifying these is the easy part. I think the hard part is getting it untangled and getting it back to its rightful owner, because
absolutely.
So if the town could somehow even take these for back taxes and then auction them off or try to put them back to their rightful taxpayer.
Right. Even if we could get possession of those lots without spending $1 million to do it, get them back, at least on, now that the state's saying you can value them, we have the acreage, we have the map and lot number. It would be so easy for me to put those owner unknowns on the tax rolls, but it would be also great if somehow the town could get those owner unknowns and auction them off to abutters, or like Tom said, maybe there's information out there that we're not privy to, which again, I wish we were. I wish this stuff was reported, but the further back you go, the harder it is to find, even the Osceola information that I found up there. Good, there's very little info on the plans that I found. A lot of the times I'm hoping that the assessors have researched these way before our time and wrote in some notes, and sometimes I find it and most times I don't, but at least I can show that to the curious taxpayer and say, look, we really don't have as many sources as maybe some people think we have, but we're going to do our due diligence to at least get an answer of some kind back to you. And that's what I'm going to do with this particular one. And, maybe they'll go forward as a group and hire someone, to research these. I know we had years ago, we do have a list, and I think I mentioned this before, all the properties that the town owned or claims to own. There was a research project done to get map and or get book and page legal references on those, and we did get a whole bunch of them, but there's still a lot that we don't have. And I sort of relate it back to that, is there's gonna have to be more of an effort than just looking these things up online. It would have to be a very in-depth research project, and it could be a project for an intern. It could be something for a paralegal, an upcoming, that wants to get involved things. Then, again, I'm not an engineer, but I can read a deed and a plan. But I just think now that we're talking about it and we're looking into it, we can do our part to figure out what to do with these things. So I will follow up with Ray, and then I'll follow up with the abutters on that, and then I can come up with something to maybe present to the select board as well with these and see what they want to do, and we can discuss it at our next meeting as well. Tom, I put the exemption pilot program on there. I wasn't sure if anything's at the town meeting about it.
Well, I think at the town meeting, if I'm asked, we'll just report that the project's been on hold because of the pandemic, but we'll be getting reorganized in the fall. And actually, Gary, I think we might even have a meeting sometime in July, just to sort of touch base on where we're at and what our schedule should be in the fall. Does that make sense to you, Gary?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey,
Pat?
yeah, I just had a question. I brought up an issue maybe about a month and a half ago at the select board about the question of whether to consider returning the donation to the home on Ice Climb Road. I can't believe I can't think of it.
Oh, Riverbrook?
Yeah, Riverbrook. And, and then Tom, you had some concerns about doing that, but it would be nice to sort of have you guys sort of let us know that you either support that or don't support it. My point at the time was that that they're building an elevator and they were still about $200,000 short in their fundraising. And I wasn't sure, where they don't have the deep pockets that some others have. I thought that they were over and above and beyond, but it's your area. And so I would defer to you guys.
Well, Gary, I mean, Patrick, we did discuss it, and I think we decided that this would set a bad precedent, and that
Okay, did you guys discuss it as a board?
I don't remember which forum we discussed it, but I remember we all kind of weighed in on it and determined that this was not a good precedent, and besides which they'd gotten a sizable grant from community preservation.
Right. Okay, that's fine. And then I also had a question on as a taxpayer question. I haven't received a bill for my auto excise from either Lennox, which sometimes sent it, or Stockbridge, and it's not a big deal because my car was 10 years old. And so if someone then found a bill and I end up getting fined or whatever, but I just traded my car in, and I'm a little bit concerned that I don't want it to sort of get lost. And, a lot of us in this part of town have Lennox addresses. And so the registry thinks we live in Lennox and we don't. And sometimes I got bills from Stockbridge and sometimes I get bills from Lennox, but this year I didn't get a bill from either. And I'm sort of wondering how I resolved that.
Patrick, we just got a big commitment that came through, and I could have Tammy check to see if you were on it.
Okay.
Oh, she just did. She just checked it. You are on it.
Oh, yay. All right, good.
Yeah, so that's what the board will be signing this week. So they'll be issued on Friday.
When you say a commitment, did I do something wrong, or is that just, what does that
Oh,
mean?
no, that's what we call the actual list of bills that
Then you get
comes
a
from the
bill.
registry.
Oh, okay, good. All right, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, so you'll be getting it for sure.
All right, good. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. All right.
You're welcome. So I think that's it, guys, for now.
All right.
All right, so
Anybody
you're
have
gonna
anything
stop
else?
in. We'll have everything ready to go.
All right.
Okay.
So our next meeting will be on the 28th.
Yes, and I will double check with Mike about whether or not, because if we're gonna have it on the 28th, I also have to make sure that if we still have to do a Zoom, I've got to make sure that Steve knows that it's not the 21st. It will be the 28th, but again, it wasn't his fault. It was the fact that it wasn't changed on the calendar here. I'll make sure that it gets changed on the calendar for the 28th. Again, it should be changed on the calendar whether we're doing a Zoom meeting or not. So I'll make sure that they do that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So hopefully this is our last Zoom. Although I will say it hasn't been that bad.
Not that bad at all.
No. but I'm eager to get back to the way it was.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, guys.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
See ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See you soon.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.